Christian Academy. Dr. Shell here. Instead of being down in my basement in front of my green screen, I'm up here in my home office because I want to talk about this wall back here behind me. I have this screen that I use when I'm making videos, and it's full of pictures of my family. And there's me and my son when he was much littler. And there's my lovely wife, Valerie, back there. And there's pictures of my family members and us doing different things. I just love taking pictures, and I love having pictures of my family around. And that got me thinking about the image of God. You know, when we think about being better together, there's a challenge that comes up when we think about what it means to be in the image of God. Every single person, everybody at Christian Academy, everybody in the world was made in the image of God. But yet, if you picked out any one person, you can't say that person is exactly like God. Isn't that interesting? So I want to talk about that, and I think using the idea of photographs helps us. So I have a picture of my dog here. Her name is Halo, and Halo is really cute, as you can see, and very smart. And even though this picture is really cool, and she does look like that, at the same time, she doesn't look like that. I mean, she's not flat. Oh, do you love Flat Stanley? I love Flat Stanley. I think those are so funny, and that he gets shipped all over the place and gets into situations because he's flat and not like everybody else. So Halo here is a dog, but this picture is kind of her image, but it's not exactly right because she's flat and she's much bigger than this, right? This is just a tiny 4.5, 6.4 or what, I don't know what. No, she's much bigger than this. So this picture is a little bit of her, but it's not quite right. And maybe if I had a whole bunch of pictures from different angles and we could sort of get like a 3D image of what she looks like, but it still wouldn't be right because it would be missing pieces or hollow or again, you know, blank on the backside. So each picture is a snapshot. We even say that. It's a snapshot of what somebody looks like. You get out your phone, right? Your parents take a picture of you, and you may capture a lot of interesting things. But the picture is not the same as the thing you're taking a picture of, that it represents, that it's the image of. And so that's when I think about us being together. I think if every single person is made in the image of God. And I think when you take us all together, you might get a better image of what God is like. Because people have different characteristics and different strengths. And if you think about all these different things and you look at the big picture, you might get a better idea of what God is like. You know, in the book of James, James warns us, now watch what you say. In fact, James goes on to say, if you think you are a Christian and you don't control your mouth, you are just kidding yourself. Wow, that's intense. And so in chapter 3, James is talking about that, you know, it's just not right. That with our mouth we can do blessings and curses. That we can, he said, it's like you can't have a water fountain and it squirts out fresh water and salt water at the same time. And he says our mouth should be like that. What we say should be consistent with who we are. And here's what he says though in chapter 3. Listen to this. This is chapter 3, verse 9. He says, no one can control their tongue. It's a restless evil, full of poison, because with it we bless our Lord and Father, and with it we curse men. We curse other people who are made in the likeness of God. So James says, this doesn't make any sense. And on one hand, you're praising God, you're in chapel, you're at church, you're worshiping God because he's so awesome. And then you turn right around and you say something mean or hateful about another person, and they are in the image of God. And James says, you can't do that. So I stumbled on this picture of Jesus that I think is an interesting way of thinking about what I'm trying to talk about. Maybe a picture is worth 1,000 words, they say. So let's check it out. All right, boys and girls. So I was looking around the internet. I found this picture that you know, this is the image that a lot of people have of Jesus. We don't really know what he looked like. The Bible doesn't really give us much description about him. And of course, there was no cameras back then. And he was, when he was alive and when he died, he was just a poor son of a carpenter and a teacher. And so nobody thought to draw his picture or make a painting of him or a sculpture. So we really don't know exactly what Jesus looked like. So this is an image that you often see, sort of longish hair, a beard, which had been very common for those that lived in Israel at the time. Usually we think of Jesus as probably having a little bit darker skin since he lived in what we know as the Middle East. But this is often a picture that you would sort of understand if you had a Bible or in a Sunday school classroom, you'd see a picture of Jesus. But there's something about this picture that's a little interesting, and I want us to take a closer look. So, isn't that interesting? I just think this is so cool. So, this picture of Jesus is actually made up of a whole bunch of pictures of people that the artist selected and put at just the right place so that when you look at it from a distance, you see an image of Jesus. But when you look at really close, you actually see a lot of individual people. So, unfortunately, when I zoom in real close, it gets a little blurry. But you have this cute little girl, and you have this little boy. I think he's in a swimming pool. And then you even have a grandma. And all of these individual people, when they're brought together, fill out the image of God. Isn't that awesome? So, I just think that is so cool. And I think about this, that every single person that we meet is some way reflecting the image of God. But each of us are different. And I think of it as like sometimes, somebody may be super patient. And when I see them, I see the patience of God. Somebody else might be really creative and be able to take things that maybe were junk or things that I would look at and think, you can't make anything out of that. And yet they can take it and be creative and make something beautiful. And that's the way God does with us, that he is able to take things and work all things together for the good, and he makes something awesome. I think sometimes, some people are just so smart and wise and think, oh, that reminds me of God. And each of those individuals, when you put that all together, you get a better image, a picture. We're better together, a better picture of what God might be like. Boys and girls, even those people who don't know Jesus, who don't love God, are still made in his image. And I think one of the ways that we can sort of share our faith is to look at somebody that maybe even seems to be really angry, or somebody that's really mean, and somehow see in them some ways in which they are like God, that we can use to say, I know you're angry, and I know that you have been hurt, and that's caused you to be really mean. But I can feel in you that you have a real sense of justice, that what's really made you so angry is somehow you've been mistreated, and that makes you angry. But God is a God of justice, and I understand that that's a way in which God has created you to be like him. And then we can try to bring that person into a relationship with God, and they can find forgiveness and comfort and healing. So, boys and girls, I want to encourage you that every single person you see today, tomorrow, the rest of this week, I want you to realize that every single person is made in the image of God, and in some way they reflect who God is. And then I want you to make sure that when other people look at you, they see God in the way you speak and talk and act. They see somebody who is like God and becoming more like God. The Bible tells us that we should be conformed to his image. That means we want to try to be more and more like him as we go along. As we leave, boys and girls, I'm going to ask you to really look at that picture as it fades back and back and back, and then you can see Jesus. And I want Jesus to see you to be like him. I want other people, when they look at you to see Jesus. I'm going to play a little song in the background that's called Let Others See Jesus in You. It's an old hymn we used to sing. Let others see Jesus in you. All right, boys and girls, thank you for being so special and being you, because you are in the image of God, and we're trying to be more and more conformed to Him as we have a relationship with Jesus. We give our hearts to Him, we give our lives to Him, and we become more and more like Him each and every day. All right, God bless you. See you next week.